I've been talking about personal development as it relates to parenting, and my last video got way more attention than I ever would have imagined, which means that people care a lot about intellectual integrity, which I love. Among the comments were a few questions that are exactly the kind of approach that I would like to take in this conversation. With that in mind, I'd like to set a collaborative tone here as opposed to something that's combative. In combat sports, there are 3 different levels of engagement: drills, sparring, and competition fighting. Basically, the variables are how much effort you're putting in and what your goal is. Are you trying to win? Are you trying to dominate the other person? Or are you trying to explore and feel out what something should feel like correctly in your body? Test if something works. There is actually a 4th level when all the rules get thrown out the door and it becomes an actual fight to the death, not just to win. The point of doing drills is to teach your body a vocabulary, so when necessary you can push that button and call on it. I want to do thousands and thousands of repetitions of this movement or that movement, whatever it is that I'm going to do, so that when I say punch, I can use my whole body. Punches involve hips and they involve legs, and so how do I build that coordination into my practice so that when I spar, those moves happen automatically. Sparring puts all of those pieces together. If drilling is at 30% energy to feel something out, see what works, see what doesn't, you don't want to hurt yourself. Sparring would be, say, 60, 70, maybe 80%. A competition fight is where I actually want to win. I'll put in 100% energy. I might be willing to hurt myself in order to win, because the point is to come out on top in the competition. But in a competition, there are still rules. There is no eye gouging. No one's gonna pull out a knife. What are the rules and boundaries? I would like to use this space for drills. We want to establish a vocabulary so that we can have a conversation that is meaningful, non-combative, and so that we can learn something. I'm not interested in winning. All the information that we're going to talk about here exists in some form or another. The expression, "there's nothing new under the sun." What I have found is that it is extremely difficult to parse through that information and put together real, honest thought processes because the air is thick with agenda. And this is a similar problem that happens in the science community. Science says. What does that even mean? Science as a concept has lost a tremendous amount of integrity, even though the underpinnings and the philosophy of it are brilliant and necessary and do amazing things. How can we utilize that same core fundamentals of intellectual integrity to have this really important conversation so we can spar, see what works, and then hopefully we'll learn something? The problem really is not the information, it's how we sort through it, which is why this clip is so funny.
I'm generally opposed wisdom. I think wisdom is the most disgusting thing you can imagine. Wisdom is this, you know, whatever you do, a wise man will come and justify it, you know. Like, you do something risky and you succeed. There will be a wise man who will come and say something like, I don't know, we in Slovene, we have a proverb, maybe you have a similar one, only those who risk profit, and so on and so on. Let's say you do the same thing but fail. A wise man will come and he will say something like, in Slovene we had a vulgar saying which says you cannot urinate against the wind or something like that. You know, this is wisdom. Whatever you do, a wise guy will come and wisdom. You know,
but it's so interesting that a philosopher should be against wisdom.
We all are. Once I made a mental experiment, if you don't believe me. Let's take, I will say something. I will say, I don't know how to say it, I'm too ironic with all this pathos. You know, why are we running after this miserable earthly pleasures? Think about eternity. The only satisfaction is eternity. If I were to say it with proper pathos, it would sound a deep thing to say.
It sounded.
Now, let's say the opposite. Why run after the specter of eternity? Carpe diem. Grasp what you have here. It sounds wise. Now I will say the third option. Why be caught in a contrast between eternity and temporary existence? The true wisdom is to see eternity in fleeting temporary pleasures. It is wise. Then I say the 4th variation. We are forever condemned between the two. A wise man accepts this. You know, whatever I say, that's my point. You can sell it as a wisdom. This is a wisdom.
What I would love to do is create a space where we can have these conversations in a drill level environment and where we can establish a vocabulary, where we can play around with these ideas in a non-combative way, so we can really explore and eliminate negative things, embrace positive things, learn together, and hopefully come out with something more positive and collaborative. Thank you so much, and if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and give me some love in the comments.